Good wishes, dear children. How are you all? I hope you all are doing well and good at your places. I hope your studies are also going pretty well. So, dear children, today I'm going to discuss Chapter 2 of Civics for Class 6th with you all. My dear children, today's discussion is about the topic diversity and discrimination. So, my dear children, India is a big country. It's a huge country with various cultures, traditions, customs, religions. All these things are coexisting, right? Therefore, my dear children, today I'm going to tell you about the diversity and the discrimination found all over India through traditional times, right? I hope you will understand this via this video. So, my dear children, let's concentrate on a few points. What are we? How are we different from others, right? And who are we? All these things depend upon many things. Difference and prejudice here are many things that make us what we are, how we live, the languages we speak, what we eat, where, the games that we play, and the things that we celebrate. All of these are influenced both by the geography and the history of the place where we live. You will get an idea of how diverse India is if you look even briefly at the following statement. There are 8 major religions in the world. Every single one of them is prepared in India. We have more than 1600 languages that are people's mother tongues, and there are more than 100 dance forms. Yet this diversity is not always celebrated. This is because we feel safe and secure with the people who look, talk, dress, and think like us. Sometimes when we meet people who are very different from us, we may find them strange and unfamiliar. At times, we may not understand or know the reasons why they are different from us. People also form certain attitudes and opinions about others who are not like them. On rural people, more than 50% of the Indians live in India. People in the villages do not like to use modern technology. In peak harvesting and plantation season, families spend 12 to 14 hours working in the fields. Villagers are forced to migrate to cities in search of work, or urban people life in the city is easy. People here are spoiled and lazy. In cities, families spend very little time with each other. People in the cities only care about money, not about people. Living in a city is expensive. A large part of the people's earning is spent on rent and transport. So, some of these statements see the villagers as ignorant and see people in cities as money-minded and lazy. When our opinions about certain people are always negative, seeing them as lazy, stingy, as some of these statements, then these become prejudices that we carry about them. Prejudice means to judge other people negatively or see them as inferior. When we think that only one particular way is the best way and right way to do things, that we often end up not respecting others who may prefer to do the things differently. For example, if we think English is the best language and other languages are not important, we are judging these other languages negatively. As a result, we might not respect people who speak languages other than English. We can be prejudiced about many things: people's religions, beliefs, the color of their skin, the region they come from, the accent they speak in, the clothes they wear, etc. Often our prejudices about others are so strong that we don't want to form friendships with them. At times, we may even act in ways that hurt them. Creating stereotypes. All of us are familiar with gender differences. What does it mean to be a boy or a girl? Many of you will say, we are born as boys and girls. It is given. What is there to think about? Let's see if this is the case. As children grow up, they start believing that boys don't cry, so that even if a boy feels like crying, he stops himself from doing so. He also believes that crying is a sign of weakness. So, even though both the boys and girls sometimes want to cry, especially if they are angry or in pain, as they grow older, boys learn to teach themselves not to cry. If a grown boy cries, then he feels that others will either tease him or laugh at him. And so he stops himself from doing so in front of others. This is the way boys are and this is how girls are. These are statements we hear constantly and accept without even thinking. We start believing that each one of us must behave accordingly. We fit all boys and all girls into an image that society creates around us. So, the children you see in the illustrations here were seen as disabled. This term has been changed and now the term used is children with special needs. When we fix people into one image, we create a stereotype. When people say that those who belong to a particular country, religion, sex, race, or economic background are stingy, lazy, criminal, or dumb, they are using stereotype. There are stingy and generous people everywhere in our country, in our religion, in every group, whether rich or poor, male or female. And just because some people are like that, it is not fair to think that everyone will be the same. Stereotypes stop us from looking at each person as a unique individual with his or her own special qualities and skills that are different from others. They fit large numbers of people into only one pattern or type. Stereotypes affect all of us as they prevent us from doing certain things that we might otherwise be good at. Inequality and discrimination. Now, discrimination happens when people act on their prejudices or stereotypes. If you do something to put other people down, if you stop them from taking part in certain activities and taking up jobs, or you stop them from living in certain neighborhoods, prevent them from taking water from the same well or hand pump, or not allow them to drink tea in the same cups or glasses as others, you are discriminating against them. Discrimination can take place because of several reasons. Okay, now look at this example. Samir 1 and Samir 2 were different from each other in many ways. For example, they belong to different religions. This is an aspect of diversity. However, this diversity can also be a source of discrimination. Groups of people who may speak a certain language or follow a particular religion, live in a specific regions, etc., may be discriminated against as their customs or practices may be seen as inferior. Another difference between the two Samirs was their economic backgrounds. Samir too was poor. This difference is not a form of diversity, but inequality. People who are poor do not have the resources or money to meet their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. They experience discrimination in offices, in hospitals, schools, etc., where they are treated badly because they are poor. Some people may experience both kinds of discrimination. They are poor and they belong to groups whose culture is not valued. Tribals, some religious groups, and even particular regions are discriminated against for one or more than these reasons. On being discriminated against people who are engaged in different kinds of work like teaching, carpentry, pottery, weaving, fishing, farming, etc., to earn a livelihood. However, certain kinds of work are valued more than others. Activities like cleaning, washing, cutting hair, picking garbage are seen as the tasks that are of less value, and people who do this work are seen as dirty and impure. This belief is an important aspect of caste system, dear children. In the caste system, communities, groups of people were placed in a sort of ladder where each caste was either below or above the other. Those who placed themselves at the top of the ladder called themselves upper caste and saw themselves as superior. The groups who were placed at the bottom of the ladder were seen as unworthy and called untouchables. Caste rules were set which did not allow the so-called untouchables to take on work other than what they were meant to do. For example, some groups were forced to pick garbage and remove dead animals from the village, but they were not allowed to enter the homes of the upper caste or take water from the village well, and even enter temples next to the children of the other caste in school. Thus, upper castes acted in ways which did not give the so-called untouchables the same right as they enjoyed. A common stereotype about some of the Muslims is that they are not interested in educating girls and therefore they do not send girls to school. However, studies have now shown that poverty amongst Muslims is important reason why Muslim girls do not attend school or drop out from the school after a few years. Whenever efforts has been made to reach education to the poor, there the Muslim community has shown an interest in sending their girls to school. For example, in the state of Kerala, the distance between the school and the home is not much. There is good government bus service that helps teachers reach schools in rural areas, and over 60% of the teachers are women. These factors has helped children from the poorer families, including Muslim girls, attend school in much larger numbers. In other states, where such efforts have not been made, children from the poorer families, whether Muslim, tribal, or some so-called lower caste, find it difficult to attend school. Therefore, poverty, not religion, is the cause for not attendance of the Muslim girls in school. Now, Dalit is the term that people belonging to so-called lower caste used to address themselves. They prefer this word to untouchable. Dalit means those who have been broken. The word, according to the Dalits, shows how social prejudices and discrimination have broken the Dalit people. The government refers to this group of people as scheduled castes or SCs. What is the difference between discrimination and stereotypes? How do you think people who discriminate against might feel? Think, how do you feel? How will you feel if you are being discriminated? Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, one of the greatest leaders of India, shares his first experience of caste-based discrimination, which took place in 1901 when he was just 9 years old. He had gone with his brothers and cousins to meet his father in Koregaon, which is now in Maharashtra. Long did we wait, but no one turned up. An hour elapsed and the station master came to inquire. He asked us for our tickets. We showed them to him. He asked us why we tarried. We told him that we were bound off Koregaon and that we were waiting for father and his servant to come. But that neither had turned up, and that we did not know how to reach Koregaon. We were well-dressed children. From our dress or talk, no one could make out that we were children from the untouchables. Indeed, the station master was quite sure we were Brahmin children. and was extremely touched at the plight of which he found us. As is usual among the Hindus, the station master asked us who we were. Without a moment's thought, I blurted out that we were Mahars. Mahar is the one of the communities which were treated as untouchables in Bombay Presidency. He was stunned. His face underwent a sudden change. We could see that he was overpowered by a strange feeling of repulsion. As soon as he heard my reply, he went away to his room and we stood where we were. 15 or 20 minutes elapsed. The sun was almost setting. Our father had not turned up, nor had he sent his servant. And now the station master had also left us. We were quite bewildered, and the joy and happiness which we felt at the beginning of the journey gave way to a feeling of extreme sadness. After half an hour, the station master returned and asked us what we proposed to do. We said that if we could get a bullock cart on hire, we would go to Koregaon, and it was not very far. We would like to start straight away. There were many bullock carts playing for hire. But my reply to the station master that we were Mahars had gone round among the cartmen, and not one of them was prepared to suffer being polluted and to demean himself carrying passengers of the untouchable classes. We were prepared to pay double the fare, but we found that money did not work. The station master, who was negotiating on our behalf, stood silent, not knowing what to do. So the source for this story is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's Writings and Speeches, Volume 12, edited Vasant Moon, Bombay Education Department, Government of Maharashtra. Dear children, Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar, who lived from 1891 to 1956, is considered the father of the Indian Constitution and is also the best known leader of the Dalits. Dr. Ambedkar fought for the rights of the Dalit community. He was born into the Mahar caste, which was considered untouchable. The Mahars were poor, owned no land, and children born to them also had to do the work their parents did. They lived in spaces outside the main village and were not allowed into the village. Dr. Ambedkar was the first person from his caste who completed his college education and went to England to become a lawyer. He encouraged Dalits to send their children to school and college. He also urged Dalits to take on different kinds of government jobs in order to move out of the caste system. He led many efforts of Dalits to gain entry into the temples. Later in his life, he converted to Buddhism in his search for a religion that treated all members equally. Dr. Ambedkar believed that Dalits must fight the caste system and work towards a society based on respect, not just for a few, but for all persons. So, dear children, despite the children offering money, the cartmen refused them. Why? How did people at the station discriminate against Dr. Ambedkar and his brothers? How do you think Dr. Ambedkar felt as a child when he saw the station master's reaction to his statement that they were Mahars? Have you ever experienced prejudice or witnessed an incident of discrimination? How did this make you feel? Imagine how difficult it would be if people could not move easily from one place to another. How insulting and hurtful it is to have people move away, refuse to touch you, or allow you to drink water from the same source as they do? This small incident shows how a simple task of going from one place to another in a cart was not available to the children, even though they could pay the money. All the cartmen at the station refused to take the children. They acted in a discriminatory manner. So clearly, as this story shows us, caste-based discrimination is not only limited to preventing Dalits from undertaking certain economic activities, but it also denies them the respect and dignity given to others. In addition to the lower caste being discriminated against, there are also various other communities that are subject to discrimination, striving for equality. The struggle for freedom from British rule also included within it the struggle of large groups of people who not only fought against the British but also fought to be treated more equally. Dalits, women, tribals, and peasants fought against the inequalities they experienced in their lives. As pointed out earlier, many Dalits organized themselves to gain entry into temples. Women demanded that they should have as much a right to education as men did. Peasants and tribals also fought to release themselves from the grasp of moneylenders and the high interest they were charged. When India became a nation in 1947, our leaders too were concerned about the different kinds of inequalities that existed. Those who wrote the Constitution of India, a document that laid out the rules by which the nation would function, were aware of the ways in which discrimination had been practiced in our society and how people had struggled against this. Many leaders of these struggles, such as Dr. Ambedkar, had also fought for the rights of the Dalits. So these leaders set out a vision and goals in the Constitution to ensure that all the people of India were considered equal. This inequality of all persons is seen as a key value that unites us all as Indians. So dear children, everyone has equal rights and opportunities. Untouchability is seen as a crime and has been legally abolished by law. People are free to choose the kind of work they wish to do. Government jobs are open to all people. In addition, the Constitution also placed responsibility on the government to take specific steps to realize this right to equality for the poor and other such marginal communities. The writers of the Constitution also said that respect for diversity was a significant element in ensuring equality. They felt that people must have the freedom to follow their religion, speak their language, celebrate their festivals, and express themselves freely. They said that no one language, religion, or festival should become compulsory for all to follow. They said that the government must treat all religions equally. Therefore, India became a secular country where people of different religions and faith have the freedom to practice and follow their religion without any fear or discrimination. This is seen as an important element of our unity, that we all live together and respect one another. Though these ideals are enshrined in our Constitution, this chapter points out that inequalities exist even today. Equality is a value that we have to keep striving for and not something which will happen automatically. People's struggles and positive actions by the government are necessary to make this a reality for all Indians. Now match the following statements in a way that challenges the stereotypes. Look at this. A. Two surgeons were sitting down to lunch when one of them made a call on the mobile phone. B. The boy who won the drawing competition went to the Diaz. C. One of the fastest athletes in the world. D. She was not that well off but had a dream. Look at the other side now. Number 1 is suffers from chronic asthma. Number 2, to become an astronaut, which she did. Number 3, to speak with her daughter who had just returned from school. Number 4, on a wheelchair to collect his prize. So my dear children, what would you match with A? 2 surgeons were sitting down to lunch when one of them made a call on the mobile. Very right. To speak with her daughter who had just returned from school. Okay, now look at the second sentence. B. The boy who won the drawing competition went to the Diaz. Yes, on a wheelchair to collect his prize. C. One of the fastest athletes in the world suffers from chronic asthma. Correct. D. She was not that well off but had a dream. Yes, to become an astronaut, which she did. Correct. Correct, my dear children. So, my dear children, now you have an insight about the diversity and discrimination that India is facing from traditional times, and you have also noticed how eminent personalities like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar have tried their best to take people out of these kind of prejudices and caste system. And to add on, I would also like to remind you about the Constitution. Look how beautiful. It's a beautiful concept that our Constitution has enshrined those values to respect human as a human, not as a person belonging to a particular caste. Our Constitution has beautiful values enshrined in it, and we should respect it. So, my dear children, with this, I would like to take your leave today, and with some other interesting facts and knowledge, I'll see you again. Till then, bye-bye, take care.